Hi church, welcome to this exclusive interview which took place back in July with Bishop T.D. Jakes. We were so honored and privileged to get invited to the Potter's House. Bishop T.D. Jakes is not only a phenomenal preacher and teacher, but he's also a movie maker. He is a New York Times best-selling author, and he's also a motivational speaker across the world. So just sit back, relax, grab your notepad, your iPad, take notes, and I know this could be a life-changing moment for many. God bless. Well, Bishop Jakes, we are so honored to be with you.
Thank you for
this
having
morning and to be in this amazing church and this great city and nation. We are just so grateful for your time. So.
Well, welcome to America, and to the Potter's House, and to Texas.
Come on.
Come on, where everything's bigger.
Everything's bigger and better
Everything's
in Texas.
bigger, especially me.
Hey, we've admired you for so long and watched you from a distance, watched the movies, read the books, listened to the podcast, the messages, the sermons, and we just, it's just great to be up close and personal today. Thank you for taking time, and welcome from Norwich, England.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Love England.
Would you just take a moment to introduce yourself?
Wow, how would I do that? I'm my mama's baby. How would I describe myself? I think that I am at my core a communicator. Often when people divide the films and the books from the preaching and the motivational speaking and the business seminars that I do, I look for a way to connect it all, and I think at my core I'm a communicator, and that I'm a listener as well as a communicator. That if you, in the natural, if you can't hear, you can't speak well. And I think that the key to being a great communicator is to be a great listener.
Yeah.
To even when it comes to the Bible, to listen at the text. It's one thing to quote it, but it's another thing to listen at the text and let it speak to you.
Yeah,
Wow. I need to get my notepad out already. You're dropping gold on us. And so, hey, in a moment we're gonna talk about your latest book, Soar.
Okay.
Building your vision from the ground up. And I read this a few months ago. It's had a profound impact on my life. And today, as part of our 6 Hot Nights, we're going to be promoting this book and giving people an opportunity to purchase it. But it really is full of just really practical insight into that, birthing that God-given dream. It's very, very different to a typical T.D. Jakes book.
Yes, it is a deviation, and it was a risk. It was a risk for me because I was sharing another part of myself. The body of Christ tends to be one-dimensional in terms of the content that they're exposed to.
Yeah.
And yet I have this duality between what I do in films and what I do in my for-profit companies and real estate and that sort of thing. And I wasn't sure what the response would be like, so I was nervous. But I was amazed. I've never had a book to be on the New York Times list for, I think it was 15 weeks straight, so I mean, it was really well received.
Yep.
And I shared it because I see people struggling in their careers, in their dreams, in their visions, and particularly millennials who are more inclined to be entrepreneurial and have the gifts and have the talents, but never get an opportunity to be exposed to people who have done it. And so it's really a mentoring opportunity for people who have an aspiration to be entrepreneurial, or church plants, which are also entrepreneurial. Some of the same skill sets that are necessary to start a business are necessary to start a church or anything else.
Yeah, some books have the power to transform, other books have the power to revolutionize, and I feel this book has the potential to revolutionize, for us, for the UK. I think this book is needed in our churches, in our nation. So, you talk about building your dream, the first chapter, from the ground up. Often the millennials, my generation, we want instant success.
Microwave.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed that. I've noticed it. But it's because you grew up with YouTube and streaming and people, the Kardashians and people being discovered overnight wonders and that sort of thing. And a percentage of people, a very small, minute percentage of people that will happen for. But the rest of us will be unemployed waiting for that to happen, and we will starve to death. And while we are waiting, we must understand that rather than to wait for that small modicum of people to come through, you have a dream that you're sitting on. And you have to understand that our God is a God of process.
Amen.
Yes.
Business is a process. Entrepreneurship is a process. And just because you hit a hard spot doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. The most important thing I'd like to say, anything that's given to you too quickly, you will lose.
Wow.
In our country, we have a lottery, and the stats are 85% of people who hit the lottery are broke in 2 years.
Wow.
Because it is what you learn in the process of getting it that makes you able to keep it.
Yeah, wow.
And if you don't learn it by building it yourself from the ground up,
So good.
you won't be able to maintain it. You won't be able to repair it. You don't know what's going on. You're an overnight success, but you end up in a morning blunder.
So a lot of people have a vision, they have a dream, but they don't have any money.
The
Right.
resources to sort of accomplish it.
The human resources,
Yeah.
the financial resources to accomplish. Could you speak into, because I know a lot of people listening and going to be watching online as
Yeah.
well, they're going to be like, I've got a big vision, but
That's right.
I've got no one to bankroll it. Where do I start?
That's exactly who I'm writing to. I didn't write the book to somebody who has $10 million to do a startup corporation, a tech corporation, an e-corporation, anything like that. I wrote it to the person who has nothing but a dream and a vision, and they are going to build it from the ground up. They do not have access to capital. You start where you are. You start on a very small scale, I mean minute scale, and turn the profits back over into the business and build it back up little by little, and it's going to take a time. It may be that you work a job and do it on your part-time and work your way over into full-time. It may be that you start with no employees and then you grow to 2 or 3 employees. It may be that you start with volunteers,
Yeah.
but start. whatever
So good.
whatever
Just
you
do
have to
it.
do, just start.
Wow.
Just start. If you start in the back of your car. My first books I sold out of the trunk of my car.
Car boot sale.
I sold them out
We
the
call them car boot sales.
In England, yeah.
It's a car boot sale.
boot sales. I forgot
boot
boots.
sale.
A boot.
It's a boot, it's not a
I'm
trunk.
in England, boots. Yeah, I sold it out of the back of my car, and my little kids and my wife were helping me.
Wow.
I had took all the money that I had and had 5,000 books published, and no distribution, no company would sign me as an author, but you just start.
Me too.
My father started a business, I talk about him in the book, with a mop and a bucket,
Yeah.
and ended up with 52 employees. You just start.
Just start. Wow.
I started my first church with 7 people, but you just start.
Wow.
You know, just start and get in there and believe in what you're doing. And I am not saying that when you start that I had no problems, that the bills always got paid.
Yeah.
I'm not saying all of that. I'm not saying that we didn't hit moments that we were scared to death, but fighting your way through that, building relationships with people who are in the business you want to be in is priceless.
Yeah.
Nature teaches us that fruitfulness comes from cross-pollination. And one of the things I want everybody that's watching to understand, if you're not relational, you can't be successful.
Gosh.
Relationship is critical. If the bees don't take the nectar and move it from plant to plant, we won't have fruit. In the same way, if you don't connect with other people, if you have a vision that you can do by yourself, it's not worthy of you.
Wow.
Goodness.
You need something that's big enough that, you know how an ant will get a piece of bread and it's so big it's trying to drag it and the other ants come and pull it. That's the way your vision is. That's the way it should be. It should be so big, and you should struggle with it to the point that it attracts other people, because people are attracted to people who will grab a hold to something and start dragging it.
Yeah.
You,
No, you go.
Yeah,
You go.
I mean, just going along that, you do say as well in your book about, you got to build your team before you build the dream. Like it just, like you said, it's so important that the people you surround yourself with
It's critical.
actually it play a key part in
To me, it's almost everything. Leadership is about team building. Who taught this better than Jesus? Before he did anything, hardly, he built his team.
Yeah, so true.
He walked and traveled and picked and said, you know, you, not you, you, not you, you go back, you, I'll take you.
Yeah.
And he puts together 12 men around him and insulates himself with those 12. And from that team, he affects the world for the next 2,000 years. Building your team is critical. Finding out a few people that you can bring together, and in the book I talk about, and this is a mistake most people make. If you're in fashion, if you're a model, you surround yourself, all your girlfriends are models, okay? And what happens is you end up competing with each other.
Yeah.
It would be better if you have somebody who's a model and somebody who's an accountant and somebody who's in marketing and somebody who's in hair design. Then you complete each other and you don't compete with each other. The worst thing you can do in business is to surround yourself with people who do what you do. Because then you compare yourself with them. Jesus picked 12 people and not one of them was a rabbi.
Yeah, wow.
Isn't that not one? He's going to change the world, and he didn't use any other preachers.
Goodness.
He's got a tax collector, he's got a physician, you know, he's got a scribe, he's got all of these people around him, a fisherman, and he's got all of these people who have different work so that they become a picture of wholeness and a 360 team. It's very important.
Wow.
And do you think a lot of people don't start because of the fear of starting? Because you said it, the dream is free, but the journey isn't.
Yeah, I think the fear is a part of the process. I love to tell people the common notion in the church is all fear is bad, but all fear is not bad.
Yeah.
The Bible said God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. You don't want the spirit of fear. But a certain amount of fear is good. It makes you cautious. It makes you recheck yourself. It makes you rethink yourself.
Wow.
It's a very powerful instinct. It's a God-given gift so that you can survive in the jungle.
Wow.
It releases your fight and your flight mechanisms in your body. It causes your adrenaline to roar. Yeah. There's a lot of reasons why you want to have fear. But you don't want to have the kind of fear that paralyzes you.
Right.
You want to feel the fear and do it anyway. You want to feel the fear and check the doors twice. You want to feel the fear and double check yourself. That's a blessing. But if you have the kind of fear that makes you sit over in a corner and say, I'm not going to go, that's not a blessing. That's a spirit of fear.
Yeah.
And so we want to get rid of the spirit of fear.
Wow.
But we want to keep a certain amount of fear. Fear has saved your life sometimes and said, don't go down that dark alley. You know, fear has saved your life sometimes because it made you think, I don't need to be friends with that person anymore. In business, it's the same way. Fear makes you stack the deck. It makes you more careful. It makes you market harder. It makes you stay up later because you're afraid. But you don't want to be paralyzed by fear. Yeah. You want to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Goodness.
Wow.
I've never thought of it like that.
I haven't seen that like that before.
You know, a lot of people, because all we do is parakeet what we hear other people say in church, and we never question it.
Right.
Sometimes it limits our belief systems. I read everything. I love the Word. I read the Word, but I also read everything. And when you start reading other materials, you'll find out everybody who started anything, whether it was Facebook, or whether it was Twitter, whether it was anything, they were scared when they did it. But they did it anyway. When you start talking about building companies like Microsoft, they were scared when they did it. To drop out of college and start a business, and all of your parents are saying, you must be crazy. You know, there's a certain amount of fear. I've never seen a bride that wasn't a little bit afraid when she was getting married. You know, can I get an amen?
Yeah.
You know,
marrying an Englishman.
You know, bland food.
Fear is a part of the process, and yet, at the end of the day, what makes the victory so sweet is that you overcame the fear, you accomplished the task, and you say, wow, look what we did.
Yeah.
My wife and I were sitting around the house the other day, and we've been married 36 years.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yes,
you.
congratulations.
And we just burst out. This doesn't happen often. We just burst out and start laughing for no reason, like crazy people. But we were laughing because we said to ourselves, can you believe we did it?
Gosh.
We actually did it through storms and rain and trials and tests. We raised 5 children.
Wow.
We accomplished goals. We built a church. We built a home. We built a life. Wow.
Amazing.
We did it.
You did it.
And what an accomplishment isn't an accomplishment without an obstacle. And we had all kinds of them.
I'm sure
And
you did.
I'm sure there are more to come. But I think it's a good feeling when you can look back over your life and say, I didn't let my fear stop me from my dream.
Yeah.
Gosh. That's so helpful.
Wow, that really is helpful. Now, in the book, Soar, you talk about building a blueprint, a plan. Now, that was one of my favorite chapters.
Okay.
Because I think so many books deal with the spiritual, getting hearing from heaven and all that stuff, which is great, and we need that.
Yeah.
Even overcoming the fear to get going. But then you need a plan.
Yeah.
And you write so eloquently about how to, in fact, you give us a plan. You're saying, hey, if you can't put one together, here's one for you.
Yeah. You know, I avoided the normal Christian jargon that we're just going to stand on the word, brother, bless God.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
Yes.
Glory to God, we're just going to believe God in the restaurant. The Lord's just going to bless the restaurant and it's going to prosper. That really doesn't give you what you need.
No.
The tools.
I'm a strategist, and I believe in strategy. I believe that God is a strategist, and I start talking about having a plan and how important it is to have a plan. If you cannot build this building on paper, you cannot build it in reality.
Wow.
This building started out on paper, and the architect drew up a plan, and then they built according to plan. In the Old Testament, when they built the tabernacle, the Bible said that God told Moses to build according to pattern. He told Solomon when he built the temple to build according to pattern. God is a strategist. He always has been, and he always will be. Never surprised. It was always worked out from the foundations of the world. He already knew the end from the beginning. He's a strategist. If we are created by a creator, then we are also creative.
Yes.
And if we are creative, we have also inherited the ability to strategize and to create. We are the only species on the planet that creates.
Gosh.
You don't see ants driving cars. You don't see birds with motorcycles. You don't see hyenas with microwaves. That's part of our God-given nature to be creative. And with that, if you're going to adopt the creativity, also adopt the strategy. In fact, the Bible said in the beginning was the word. The word there in the original language is logos. And logos is not just word, it's thought. Okay? Everything started with a thought, and out of the abundance of his thoughts he spoke.
Yes.
Okay? So if everything started with a thought, what is man that thou art mindful of him? Okay? God says, my thoughts are good toward you. Listen to God talking about his mind.
Beautiful.
How wise he is, his wisdom. Paul talks about the manifold wisdom of God. In this book, I talk about coming up with a strategy and building your strategy first. And I'm going to tell you several reasons why. It decreases the likelihood of failure. It increases the likelihood of investment. Because anybody who's going to invest in your business wants to see your plan.
That's so true.
And so if it decreases failure and increases the likelihood of the fluidity of capital, then that alone is a great reason to have a plan. And if God told Moses to build according to plan, you shouldn't just get a building and open it up and hope for the best. When I talk about plan in the book, I also talk about not only planning your business, but building that business around the plan of the city. What else is going on in your city? Are there other coffee shops on the block? What is the likelihood of success? Doing your research,
Yes.
your homework.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can do the right thing at the wrong time or the wrong place.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if it is the wrong time or the wrong place, you will fail. The Wright brothers had to move the plane
Yeah.
to Kitty Hawk in order to get in the right wind. And I talk about the building of a plane as a metaphor for the building of a business. They built it at a bicycle shop miles away from where they launched it.
Yes.
And sometimes you have to build it over here and launch it over there
Yeah.
because the wind is right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so helpful.
Yeah.
It really is. It's going to help so many people on their journey.
It's very important. Even if you're going to build a church, you need to know the area that you're in and
Yeah.
what is the demographics of the area that you're. What are the needs of the people?
Yeah.
What other ministries exist already? How can I complement
That's right.
rather than compete with
That's
what is
right.
already there? Am I duplicating services that are already available?
Yeah.
That's right. Wow.
Working hard to do something that is already being done in that city. Doing your homework, it will save you money,
Goodness.
time, and tears.
I also love how you talk about e-commerce in the book and just adopting this new world that we're in, and often we can be shy of some new ways, change, and all that. And you challenge some of that thinking.
Yes.
I think that's really helpful as well. Especially we're in a rural community, our church, and sometimes people can maybe think we'll just do it like it's always been done,
Yeah.
but that might not work anymore.
No. Businesses in our country that are doing it like it's always been done are going out of business.
Wow.
Because times have changed.
Yeah.
Big warehouses are collapsing because people are ordering things over their phone now. Delivery is the big thing now. People are rethinking buses and taxi cabs because of companies like Uber, where you
Yeah.
can just click an app and
That's
get
right.
somebody to come right by. If you want sustainability in business, you have to have the e-commerce as a part of it, because it is a cultural trend that is taking over the world.
Yeah.
You either get with it or you get run over by it.
Yeah.
Here's the good thing about the whole new phase and the social media and all of that. For me, I think it's a great thing, because normally in order to market, you had to buy a 4-color glossy ad in a magazine that had a lead time of 6 months, or you had to get something in a newspaper.
So true.
And it was so expensive. Now you can go on your phone and
So
whip out
true.
something in a minute and hit send, and there it is, it's out there. That brought the cost down, it brought the dream up.
Yeah.
And now the cost of your dream has gone on sale, because you can now market
Wow.
more effectively from your telephone
Wow.
and work your way up into the game.
I like that.
I like that too.
I like that. There is an epidemic that's sweeping the UK. I'm
Yeah.
sure it might have hit
It's
the
probably
shores here
here
in the
too,
US.
yeah.
It's called entitlement.
Oh yeah, it might have come from here and went over there.
We caught it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people feel like the world owes them their dream, or
Someone else has to pay for it.
pay for it. But you mentioned in one of your responses a moment ago, you kept saying the word work, work. You said you're selling out the back of your van, and I love that.
One of my greatest assets has been a work ethic. My father gave it to me. He made sure I had it.
Yeah,
I didn't like the way he taught it, but
But you have
it was
it.
not fun. It wasn't a spiritual gift that fell on me like a dove and descended from the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
It was an old man looking over my shoulder talking about, take your hands out your pocket and get something done.
Yeah.
A work ethic is so important. It is important, because if I wanted to really hurt you badly, I'd give you the keys to this church and say, here, you're the pastor, and leave. Let me tell you something. That might sound good.
No, it doesn't.
It would
No.
not be good.
No.
Because anything you get that you didn't earn, you can't keep.
Yeah.
It's
So true.
something about working for it that makes it better. And there are things you learn along the way
Yeah.
I didn't need this church 30 years ago. I needed to be in a storefront. I learned some things. My tolerance for stress and pressure and controversy only increased because I'm exposed to it in levels and stages. If you get it all at once, it would kill you.
Yes, so true.
You need to gradually grow in the grace and the knowledge of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
true.
And so all of that is very, very important. One of the big mistakes we made, our generation with the next generation, is that we wanted to give our children everything, everything, and make them believe in themselves and tell them that you can fly and you can be Superman and all of that stuff. And they bought into it. But we gave them everything except what made us great.
That's right.
And that was a hard time, and struggles, and discipline, and expectations. And so we're having to go back and retool some things. Can I say something that you didn't ask me, but I think is important? What scares me about young people who feel entitled, I know eventually they're going to wake up because the world isn't going to give you anything, and you're going to have to wake up and realize that you have to work for it and you have to earn it. Here's the problem, though. You're going to wake up too late. You're going to wake up and you have wasted your good years, your strong years, your vibrant years. You're going to wake up just in time to get old. And if a young person is listening at me right now, I want them to imagine themselves as an old person, because that's what you're going to be. And the old person in you is counting on the young person you are today to do something smart enough that old person doesn't have to suffer.
Goodness.
Wow.
The Bible said, Benjamin shall raven as a wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and in the evening he shall divide the spoils. If you don't devour the prey in the morning, you won't divide the spoils in the evening. Youth was given to you with all of its energy and all of its creativity and all of its passion to protect your old age. And if you don't wake up out of your sleep and stop twiddling your thumbs saying, you know, I don't know whether I want to be an astronaut or I might be a hairdresser. And I've been thinking about being a rapper, but if I'm not a rapper, I might be an author. You know, by the time you come out of that funk,
It's too late.
it's too late.
Yeah, wow.
Now is the time.
Yeah.
While you're young,
That's it.
while you're strong,
That's it.
while you can fly across the country and still do an interview jet lag, do it now.
Yeah.
Because when you get older, you will not be able to jump off an 8-hour flight from the UK and run in here and do an interview and look as nice as you do.
It's the grit, isn't it? It's the grit that I think it's missing from the younger generation.
Yes.
I mean, you know, and we have a very close friend that calls it the snowflake generation, because the moment that something tough happens, they crumble. They just melt.
We didn't let them go through anything.
No.
But here's the upside, because I am a friend of the millennials. And the younger generation. Here's the upside. They're incredibly gifted. They're completely smart. And if they trust you and will let you mentor them, you can decrease the failures and increase the likelihood of them winning. They saw where we ended up and thought, that's what I want to be. And so they thought, I'll just jump over there and do it. They didn't get to see how we started. And so it's our job to go back and show them how we started, that we didn't start where you met us. We started down here. We worked our way up there. We stayed in the one-bedroom apartment with the kitchen up against the bed, and we bathed right beside the couch. We started down there.
We've assumed that they know that.
They don't.
They don't know that. And it's not their fault that they don't know that. And we were so busy making a living, we didn't tell them anything. We left them home with Facebook to raise them. And we have to go back and raise our children. Those are our children. And I get upset when people attack them, because whatever they are and whatever they're not, it's our fault, because they're our children. And we have to go back and fix that and get involved with them and make it easier for them. And we have to do it quickly, because age is coming.
That's so true.
And as age comes and mobility decreases and you start developing health maladies, that's not a good time to start running.
No.
But I think this book is a part of the solution, and that your honesty and transparency about your journey and recognizing those things and saying, hey, there is still time.
Yep.
There's still time. There's still time. You can still get in the game and do it, but the younger you are, the better you can do it. But there are exceptions. When you think of KFC was started by Harlan Sanders after he was 65.
Wow.
You start looking at some people who did do it in the winter of their lives. And I talk about that in their book too, because this is what I'm determined to be. I'm going to be productive till I die.
That's right.
I'm going to be productive till I die. I'm going to wake up every morning and I'm going to do something. I'm going to build something. I'm going to make something happen every day. He said, be fruitful.
Yes.
Multiply. That's the first thing he said to us. Before he talks to us about baptisms, communions, or anything else, he says, do something. Be fruitful. Be productive. And I intend to be fruitful until I close my eyes.
Amen.
You just answered my next question, which was to the baby booming generation. And, you know, we're a multi-generational church like you are, and we love the family aspect of our church. We've got some incredible young people, children, all the way up to people in their, you know, their later senior years. But I think you've just addressed, you know, that some people feel like they've missed the boat.
Yeah, they've missed it.
You know something? I don't think that's true. Age is an interesting thing. It's a subject all to itself. I have never understood the scripture better than I do in my 60s. As the outward man perishes, the inward man is renewed. My insight is in the word is better now than it's ever been in all of my life.
It's beautiful.
I read my Bible now and it says stuff to me that it never showed me at 30. My wisdom increases, my fortitude increases. What I like in agility, I multiply in tenacity. I am relentless. In my 60s, tenacious as all get out. I mean, let me tell you something. You could outrun me. But if I got a hold to you, you couldn't get loose.
I can believe that.
Yeah, I'm not fast, but I'm strong.
Yes.
I'm strong.
Yeah.
I can take a licking and keep on ticking.
Come on.
I can withstand a hater and still maintain my position.
So
I know
good.
who I am now. I know what I've got now. There are advantages that come with age. There are rewards that come with age. If we would stop only advertising youth and point to older people and show them what you have that you didn't have rather than what you lost, you could stay in the game. You've got something now you never had before. You know, and it's my wife is more lovely, more amazing, more vibrant than she's ever been. And when I married her, she was 26. And she's 2 years older than me, so she's 63. But when I look at her now, I see strength, you know. I see wisdom. I see stability. I see somebody whose words have been proven by the years we've spent together. Now I trust those words. They've been proven. They've been tried in the fire. And she still got a little Coke bottle going too, you know, so it's all good.
Yeah, I love it.
Praise the Lord. Glory to God.
It's a beautiful thing.
Nothing wrong with a Coke bottle. Beats a can.
Beats a can all in there. Yeah.
Hey, Chimes, we're going to bring this to a close in a moment. Just honest feedback along the way. You know, I think it's so important that we have that critical input along the way, because we can be pursuing something, but it might not be the right fit for us.
Everybody needs somebody who has the license to walk up to you and say, you have lost your mind. you must be off the grid. You need somebody in your life who can shoot it to you straight and tell it like it is, and that you respect enough to handle it. The Bible calls it chastening. And chastening is so important. You don't have a great child without chastening. You don't have a great man without chastening. You need somebody who can say to you, you've got it wrong. In my organization, we have 300 people on staff in this part of the ministry. And then I run my for-profit company with a small staff of about 12 and lots of people that we partner with other companies. I almost can't stand people who just tell me what I want to hear. I want you to tell me the truth.
Yeah.
And my staff will tell you I'm notorious for saying, what do you think?
What do you really think?
I might not do what you think,
But you're listening.
I want to hear what you think.
Yeah, wow.
And then I'm learning you by your response. Do you think anything at all? You know, yeah. But I would never hire somebody that I didn't respect their thought.
Wow.
Why would you hire somebody and then not want them to have a thought?
Wow.
I want you to be an asset, not a liability. I could get a machine to obey me.
So true.
What do you think? And so if you get in the habit of asking, what do you think? And here's the other question, what do you mean by that? Because sometimes
Yeah, wow.
what you heard and what they meant are two different things.
Wow. Give some context to what it is.
I ask a lot of questions before I make decisions because great decisions are born out of great questions.
Wow.
Let me say this quick because I know
Come
you're
on.
running out of
No,
time.
come on.
You keep going.
This is just the preacher in me.
Come on.
I used to think that the best preachers were great preachers because they were smart, but that's not true. The best preachers are the best preachers because they come to the text as a fool. And you ask the text questions that other people never thought to ask.
Wow.
If you go to the Word of God empty, you'll walk away full. But if you go to it full, you'll walk away unchanged. You want to ask questions of the text. Wonder why he said that. Wonder why he walked on the water to go over there. Wonder where did Jesus go? Why did he do that? You know, those kinds of questions lead you to answers that other people wouldn't get.
Wow.
It is your hunger that makes God feed you.
So good, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
Love
you
it.
don't want to come in there, glory to God,
Yeah.
I just ate. No, you want to come in there like, oh God, I don't know anything. Why did you say wherefore instead of therefore? Let me go back and see what was happening before. It is what you ask of the text. It is not what you know about it. In fact, sometimes what you know about the text stops you from seeing anything else.
Yeah.
Dump out everything you know
So
about the
true.
text. Come to the text as a fool and let it teach you all over again.
It's beautiful. I mean, we find that in ourselves when we were maybe first married and new, just younger. You sort of think you know everything. And then we're at where we are today, and we're like, we absolutely have no clue. We don't know anything.
We don't know what we're doing.
And we're asking all the time because we want to be those kind of people.
Absolutely.
That keep asking the questions. We don't know it all, and we want to learn. That's why we're here today, gleaning from you, because we just want to learn. We just want to grow.
I'm honored.
We really do.
There's so much to learn, and every case, every country, village, person is unique unto themselves.
That's right.
So you can never master this. The woman I'm married to now is not the woman I said I do to.
Yeah.
I'm not the same guy either.
Yeah. Wow.
My kids are not the same people that they were when they were little. They've got some of the same characteristics, but we evolve and we grow and we change. And so you never get to be masterful because every day you're learning, who are you now?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
What do you need now? When I counsel married couples, I tell them all the time, most marriages fail, not because both people didn't try, but they fail because each of them are giving the other one what they used to need.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Not what they need right now, what they used to need. And so you said, you know, I tried my very best. You did. But you gave me what I needed at 20 and I'm 40.
Wow.
Yeah.
So give us this day
Goodness.
our daily
Yes.
bread.
That's
Amen.
brilliant.
Yeah.
We want to thank you as well, because sometimes when we have a tough week, we love to go for a jog together.
Yeah, or we've ran a few marathons, and so
Really?
we put
on
your
a Bishop podcast.
I'm like, the Bishop helped me get through this marathon.
We always say the Bishop got us through another marathon. And so thank you so much. Just before we kind of conclude, I know you love the UK.
Absolutely.
And we were talking just before we sat down about, just praying into what that could look like. But would you just maybe just speak over our country, over our city, over our nation? And, like America right now, you guys are facing some challenges. We are with the whole Brexit deal. And, there's been a lot of uncertainty. People are living in despair on a lot of this. And would you just speak over our nation, Bishop?
First of all, I would say what we said off camera, how vitally important it is that America and the UK remain close. That we are bound together by common roots and language and needs, and we have common enemies. And it is very, very important that we do not allow anyone or any spirit to divide us.
That's right.
Because a house divided against itself shall not stand. To the UK, I speak revival over your country, enlightenment over your people, healing over your pain, and strength over your weaknesses. I speak to your economy. I speak to your spirituality. I speak healing and restoration to your leadership. I speak unity over your diversity. I speak protection against your enemies.
Yes, God.
I speak to the UK that great revival would break out all over the city, in houses, in homes, in villages, in churches, in sidewalks, in noonday prayers, in services for business leaders. I speak revival right now, not just in the lower levels, but also in the upper levels. I speak revival. I speak healing and restoration to you, as many countries from around the world see it as the very heartbeat of that part of the world. And I pray that that heart would be strong and tenacious and relentless, and that the rhythm of the heartbeat of your country would be syncopated, right in rhythm with the heartbeat of God. In the mighty name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. Well, we are so honored. Thank you for your time. And I know this will go out and be a real blessing to not just our church, but the churches in the UK. And you have an open invitation.
Yes, you do.
I want to come
to Soul Church England anytime.
Yes.
I want to come.
You want to come on a Monday night or Tuesday night? We'll make it. We'll make
we
it work.
do good fish and chips.
Okay.
We're going to give you fish and chips.
Okay. We'll do it.
Sold.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you so much, Bishop.
Thank you.
Much love. I enjoyed it.
We bought you some local delicacies.
Okay.
Something that will
we want to make sure whatever you can't get it here.
Okay.
Okay, so you and Sarita can.
Thank you. This is Becky.
Not the paper.
Oh, I thought the paper was it.
So this is our team.
This is.
Oh, okay.
This is the greatest team in the world.
Yep, Norwich.
I will wear this
The
too.
Norwich Canaries, Bishop Jakes.
Yes, I will wear it.
You have those here, but these are made in our city.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
I
that's
did
one
not
of the
know that.
that came out of our city.
Wonderful. I'll take these on the plane with me. I'm hungry.
You can read all about our city before you come.
Wonderful. That'll be good. So I'll be up to speed.
Yeah.
And we know you like pocket handkerchiefs.
Pocket squares, yeah. I love them. Thank you.
And you may have heard of Coleman's Mustard. That's from our city as
from
well.
our
Yes,
That's
wonderful.
so just some local things.
Thank
We wanted
you.
to say thank you.
That
Thank
was
you so
thoughtful
much.
of you to
Thank
do
you.
that.
Canary's #1 supporter,
Yes, absolutely.
Bishop Jakes. Well, I hope you were encouraged, inspired, motivated, moved to do something with what you've just heard. And can I encourage us to jump on to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, follow Bishop Jakes, and why don't we say a big thank you across social media to him today for the time he's invested into our church, our city, and our nation. And who knows, maybe one day we'll have Bishop Jakes and Sarita here in person. Thanks for being here tonight. God bless.